For the last 10 years, I've been a digital artist, but before that, I was a traditional artist. To be gentle with my teenage self, I wouldn't put my previous art in a box of great art, but I wouldn't say it was terrible either. It was just uninformed and uneducated. With the rise of AI, I decided to go back to my traditional roots, and I'd like to share some of my insights with digital artists who might be afraid to make the jump back. And we're going to start with traditional art. I've been watching Gretz Slucky for inspiration for a long time, and she's the reason why I kind of made the jump back in the first place. For this piece, I chose to draw my character Nameless, the fallen princess of Meadows from my world. I thought she'd be an easy character to start with, as I reacquaint myself with traditional techniques. Starting with a messy sketch, I found I could just almost jump directly to adding color, fixing tiny issues along the way. This is kind of different from my digital process, where multiple cleanup passes are often necessary before reaching the coloring stage. And these are the ARRTX markers. I know that people have been using them in videos, so I guess this is my version of contributing to that. They go on clean and opaque and allow for minor blending, but I don't know how to blend. I've seen some people blending on other videos, but I can't figure it out. I did face some challenges with like the birds and with the feathers, because I've never drawn feathers, and it's a process of like kind of relearning and accepting mistakes, which digital art often shields us from. I should have researched how to render the feathers better, but that's part of the learning process, recognizing areas for improvement in real time. Now I'm going to go over pros and cons of each thing, traditional versus digital. So for the cost, many assume that traditional art is cheaper, but there are hidden costs. It's a sunken cost kind of deal. Quality supplies can be expensive, especially when you're just starting. However, you can build your collection slowly over time. I would say definitely invest in like the fine liner pens and Prismacolor sketching pencils. Those are going to be your favorite go-tos, and you'll have almost all you need. You can really start with mechanical pencil. They're like $5, maybe less. And if you see, the ARRTX markers are really great, and so are the Ohuhu markers. Do not jump into paying for expensive Copics and Prismacolor markers or Proscare, whatever that brand is. Don't throw your money on those, especially if you're just jumping back in. It's easy to get into a sunken cost mind where you just think, oh, well, I just bought this, I'll just buy these. Don't do that. And if you take care of them, they'll last a long time. So as a career, digital art is more like scalable for mass production, and physical art often commands higher prices. So let's say you are willing to let's say you go to a convention and you do actual sketches where people can get like a sketch on paper of their real character. I used to actually pay for these when I went to conventions. I have like maybe 3 or 4 pictures that I paid like maybe $25 to $35 for. And when it comes to like scanning work for like to move it over, I actually don't know how that works, so I don't really have advice on that. But I have to believe that you would need some type of scanner, or you would need something that could get you a high quality version of your art, or maybe you'd have to invest in a camera to get high quality versions of your work. I don't know. But if you did start selling original pieces, they would be worth way more because they're done with physical tools. Now when it comes to like brushes and tools, physical brushes, like I have watercolor brushes, they offer like a lot of flexibility and the strokes are unique. It's similar, think of it like this, if you're a digital artist, having multiple brushes is similar to being able to raise and lower the scale bar on the left on Procreate, where you can just raise and lower it. But a lot of the brushes can do more than like what their size can do. Like I have a small one, I have a tiny one, I have a big one. So they're not just used in that one instance, you can make them use for other things. And the one thing that is the best is that when it comes to traditional, you do not have to add texture. You just get the texture by doing the art. So let's do a list of the pros. There's no software limitations. There's no lag or computer issues. It's infinite resolution because you can keep making your art bigger, and bigger. You can feel free to play with it as much as you want, and it has a tangible end product. Cons: making mistakes are permanent, so this teaches you valuable lessons. I feel like a lot of digital artists have issues with line confidence because they didn't learn from traditional means. So they do, a lot of them I see do the sketchy lines, like chicken scratching. And it's really hard for them to get out of chicken scratching, especially if you guys are newer artists. I'm not talking about artists who are making their career. I'm talking, like, we all know that I'm talking to young artists who maybe got an iPad for a gift and they're just drawing to their heart's content. It's going to take them longer to get there because they're not trying on paper anymore. And you really can't go back. Once you've made a mistake, you kind of have to live with it. That's just it. Like, as you can see on this drawing right here, I feel like I made some mistakes on the little pink feather part, but I can go over it a few times, but I can't erase what I've done because I kind of just BS'd it. So I'm gonna have to live with that, and that's okay. I'll see what I can do. I'll see what I can do. Now, I'm not sponsored by RTX or, ARRTX or Ohuhu or any of the products I use. These are all products that I purchased for myself. I'm going to leave a list in the description so you guys can see everything I used. I think everyone who is a traditional artist should jump back to drawing on a physical sketchbook. This is my biggest reason. And I learned that this has actually helped me become a better artist. So since AI has become a thing, I also have been feeling self-conscious about posting my work. As you can see on my Instagram, I haven't posted that many artworks because I started getting nervous because every time I would want to post a new piece of artwork, I would feel like I need to have it perfect. And then I didn't want to experiment with anything different or try something new, because then I knew if I wanted to post something on the internet, it had to be perfect. And you get into that, this has to be perfect. And I'm too much of a perfectionist. So I decided I would have a sketchbook where I would allow myself to draw ugly. You have to learn to draw ugly and accept that you drew something bad. It's part of the process. I didn't realize I needed that until I did that. So this is a very rare look into my sketchbook where I'm very sensitive about it, because I know some of these artworks are not as good as my artworks, digitally, because I have more time and I can keep fixing them. And like that, now it's on to, let's compare this to digital art, right? So if you're a traditional artist and you're a baby traditional artist and you're thinking, oh, let me make the big jump. Let's talk about that. So unlike traditional art where you can just really buy a notebook and a pencil and be done with it, the digital art it is a significant upfront investment in hardware and software. However, once you have the setup, the ongoing costs are literally lower and lower and lower. I will say that I have 1,000 brushes I've purchased. I can say with confidence that they're not as much as what I've spent on traditional stuff. Like my Ohuhu markers, I bought them with no sale and they were $2 something, and the ARRTX markers were $60 a set. So I put a pretty upfront investment on them, and I impulse purchased them as well. However, and with that, this is the thing, is that it's kind of like you're just doing the opposite. With traditional, the cost goes up, but you get to have them a long time, and you can build your traditional setup with ease. And you could really buy markers one at a time if you wanted to be that person. $7 here, $8 here, or you could do what I did, just buy them all like an impulse person and be crazy. Now, when it comes to scaling, digital art is incredibly scalable. You can easily produce prints of your work on various digital media. It can reach a global audience instantly. However, individual digital pieces might not command the same price as original traditional artworks. So you would have to actually work harder in a way to make your career as a digital artist. And when it comes to brushes, I kind of already went into it. There's so many possibilities, so many people make brushes. You can even sell your brushes online, which maybe one day I'll do. But creating the perfect brush can really be a challenge. And that's why I buy so many, because I buy off of feelings, because you don't get to feel the friction of something doing something else. So because none of that's there, you're going off of that when you put your two fingers together and then you rub them with the other finger and then it feels like something is missing in between. It's kind of like that. So for the pros, you can infinitely undo and experiment to your heart's content. And that is great. Experimenting as long as you want is amazing. It's easy to make copies and backups. You don't have only one version. No physical storage is needed, so you don't, like, I have a gigantic cart in my living room for my art stuff because I have literally nowhere else to put it. And for my iPad, it's just literally the iPad and put it away. It's easy to share and distribute your work. You don't have to do anything extra. You can just, get it on your computer, upload it onto Instagram, boom. But with the physical stuff, you really have to see if you can get a really good picture of it, do some photo editing. It's not going to be like a one and done. You're going to have more. Some of the cons are you actually have to have some computer knowledge. It's almost assumed that you're going to have to learn some kind of Adobe Photoshop or you're going to need to learn something. It's dependent on hardware and software, not just one. You could potentially lose your work if you're not really keeping up with saving it. And there is something that lacks a satisfaction to finishing something traditional versus digital. I have other pictures in my sketchbook that I haven't showed that I was really proud of. There's something different about it where you're like, oh my God, this looks great. And I've done that with digital art, but it's just not the same. It's just a different feeling. So when it comes to my process for digital art, this is Zajora. I know you guys have seen her a million times before, so here she is again. I do a hazy sketch followed by multiple cleaning passes until I get to the ink phase, and with finishing the details and the lighting. So because digital art is very experimental friendly, it allows me for so many passes to do as much as I want and changes as much as I need. However, I feel like because I'm not doing experimenting in a different way where I have to kind of live with my mistakes, I think I'm having a little bit of a hindrance by being able to experiment so much because, it's endless possibilities. Because in digital art, you have to focus very heavily on creating a really good sketch and then making good passovers because layering can be very challenging with clipping max and dithering and not dithering. And there's a function that lets you go closer to the lines, and in some cases you have to make a reference layer, and if you don't close it all in the right way, it can just go through and bleed everywhere, and you don't want that. It's just a different kind of creativity, one that allows for extensive editing but sometimes feel a little less intimate than traditional methods. In closing, I feel that both digital and traditional art have their place. Traditional art teaches valuable lessons about accepting your mistakes and working with physical limitations, while digital art offers unparalleled flexibility and reach. Artists exploring both mediums will be at the forefront in front of other artists. I can say artists like Lowish and Gretzlucky and a lot of the other ones that I follow, because they do both. I feel that they're better artists than some people who only do one or the other. And this is not to say that I don't love those artists. I just feel that it's kind of like the conversation of you should get every possible skill under your belt as an artist. That's why you should draw animals and draw this, but really you have a focus, right? But the focus should never be the medium, it should be the subjects. And if you guys are interested in seeing more about Zajora, the character that you're seeing me draw here, feel free to check out my mermaid showcase. I put together a video where it's basically showing all of my mermaid submissions from 2020 to 2024. And I hope you like it. And I'll see you in the next one. I'm doing my 4K special next week. And I'm doing some headshots of some of my subscribers. Thank you guys for watching and listening and being here. And please feel free to turn on all the notifications with the little bell thing. And please subscribe. I will see you in the next one, friends. Oh, and tomorrow is my birthday. I'm going to do a stream on Saturday. I'm going to do a stream today on Twitch.